Imagine drifting downward through warm surface waters as sunlight fades slowly above you, becoming softer with every passing moment. The ocean grows cooler here, calmer, quieter, as if inviting you into a sanctuary hidden beneath the brighter world above. Colours begin to dissolve, edges blur, light stretches into pale beams that drift like delicate curtains through deepening blue. As you settle into this descending quiet, you might gently wonder, are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful? Wherever you are, you can let your breath slow. You can let your mind soften. You can drift. This place beneath the open ocean is often called the twilight zone, a world where sunlight still exists but faintly, briefly, dissolving into silver shadows. Here, the water holds a cool stillness that feels ancient, as though it has been waiting patiently for you to arrive. Sound becomes muffled. Heat fades. The world narrows into soft gradients of blue and violet. You don't need to stay awake for this. It's okay if your thoughts wander. You can let go whenever you're ready. Have you ever wondered what light feels like when it enters water and sinks slowly through hundreds of feet? Sunbeams drift downward in long, gentle columns, illuminating tiny particles drifting like slow, quiet snow. This marine snow, made of tiny fragments of life from above, falls endlessly, feeding creatures that wait in these cool depths. Every particle tells a small story. A drifting speck of algae, a fragment of a cloud-like jelly, the soft remains of plankton that once danced near the surface, all of it moving with patient grace. Imagine yourself suspended in this soft blue space. Feel the cool water brushing past your skin. Hear the faint, distant hum of a world far above. Notice how the light dims slowly, comfortably, like a room settling into evening. Let yourself drift deeper. Down here, creatures glow with gentle light. Thousands of species create their own soft luminescence. Blues, greens, sometimes faint reds. These lights pulse, drift, shimmer. In the twilight zone, glowing is a language. Some creatures sparkle faintly to communicate. Others produce soft bursts of pale light to distract predators. Others glow to find one another in the endless dusk. Long ago, deep-sea explorers lowered cameras into this realm and were astonished by what they saw. They expected darkness. Instead, they found drifting constellations. Points of light blooming and fading like stars that had fallen into water. Slowly, patiently, the ocean revealed that even its shadows hold gentle brightness. Have you ever noticed how comforting dim light can be? The twilight zone mirrors that sensation, a place not dark, not bright, but softly in between. A world that feels like dusk stretching forever. Imagine floating there now. See the faint shimmer of a life around you. Hear nothing but the slow pulse of your own breath. Feel the gentle weight of water, cool and steady. Let yourself sink into the calm. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to follow every word. It's okay to drift. The twilight zone begins where sunlight weakens too much for photosynthesis, meaning plants cannot grow here. And yet this place is full of life. Life that drifts, glows, waits, rises at night and sinks at dawn. Many fish here have large eyes, adapted to the faintest traces of light. Some have bodies so transparent they almost disappear. Others carry soft lights along their sides like lanterns. One of the most gentle drifters in this realm is the comb jelly. It glides slowly through dim water, its body shimmering with rainbows created not by pigment, but by light refracting off tiny moving hairs. In this cool quiet, the comb jelly moves without hurry, turning slowly, reflecting soft colours with each shift of its delicate form. Imagine drifting beside one. See its faint colours rippling across its translucent body. Feel the quiet presence of another living thing moving without sound. Notice how the water around it seems to glow. Let yourself sway with it. If your mind grows heavy, let it. You don't need to stay present. The ocean will hold you. Have you ever wondered why some animals rise from the depths at night? Every evening, countless creatures from the twilight zone swim upward toward the surface to feed in safer darkness. At dawn, they sink again into the cool shadows. This daily journey, called the Deal Vertical Migration, is the largest synchronized movement of life on Earth. Picture that now. Billions of small creatures rising like a slow cloud, glowing softly, drifting upward with the dark, then returning at dawn, sinking in silence, carrying nutrients downward through the ocean's vast layers. Long ago, scientists thought the deep ocean was empty, but when they measured movement at night, they discovered these immense migrations. It was as though the ocean itself shifted upward and downward with each day, breathing slowly in rhythm with the turning earth. Perhaps you felt something similar, a rhythm inside you that responds to light and dark, wakefulness and rest. Imagine drifting deeper into the twilight. Feel the temperature cool against your skin. Hear only the gentle hum of pressure shifting. See the faintest dust of marine snow drifting downward in endless slow spirals. Let yourself follow that falling snow. You don't need to stay conscious. You don't need to hold on to the details. It's okay to drift in and out. Some creatures here have long, delicate bodies with glowing lures that dangle like tiny lanterns. Others have mouths that open wide to catch drifting food. Some fish carry rows of soft blue lights on their bellies, which help them blend with the faint glow from above, a trick called counter-illumination. It hides them from predators looking up. Imagine how softly that light must shine, barely enough to see, just enough to mimic the pale shimmer of distant sunlight, a whisper of brightness. Have you ever wondered how many shapes life can take when freed from the need for speed or strong light? Down here, life moves slowly, with patience shaped by millions of years of quiet drifting. Imagine yourself gliding through this world. Feel the water thicken with coolness. Hear the soft hush of your own heartbeat. Notice how creatures drift in slow arcs, glowing faintly, dissolving into shadow. Let yourself sway gently with the motion. If your thoughts are slipping, let them. If your eyes feel heavy, let them close. You don't need to stay awake. In the twilight zone, temperature decreases rapidly with depth, creating a layer called the thermocline, a boundary where warm surface water meets cold deep water. This layer forms a gentle barrier, shaping currents and guiding creatures that rise and fall. When you pass through it, the water feels suddenly cooler, like stepping from warm sunlight into deep evening shade. Long ago, explorers described this sensation as entering another world entirely. The change was subtle, but unmistakable, a shift that felt like crossing an invisible threshold. Have you ever walked into a quiet forest at dusk and felt the air change around you? The twilight zone holds that same deepening hush. Imagine settling just below the thermocline. Feel the water cool against your skin. Hear the silence deepen. See the soft glow of distant creatures drifting like stars. Let yourself fall deeper into rest. You don't need to listen. You don't need to follow. You can drift, quietly, softly, calmly. As you drift deeper into the twilight zone, the water grows cooler and the pressure rises gently, though you feel none of it, only a soft sense of being carried, supported, cradled by the deepening blue. Light weakens into slender veils, shadows stretch, shapes move in quiet arcs, barely disturbing the stillness around them. You might notice your thoughts becoming softer now, drifting like faint particles of marine snow floating downward through the slow, patient water. You don't need to stay alert. Your mind can wander. It's okay to drift. Down here, sound behaves differently. It travels farther, spreading through the water in low, soft vibrations. Whales far above often send calls that travel through this zone, long mournful notes that drift like fog through darkening corridors. These sounds echo through the water in ways that feel more like sensations than noise, like gentle tremors brushing through your chest, warm and slow. Have you ever wondered what silence feels like when wrapped in water instead of air? Down here, silence becomes thick, almost velvety. The world grows muted, as though wrapped in a gentle blanket. Even your imagination feels quieter, softer, more patient. Imagine floating in this hush. Feel the cool water hugging your skin. Hear nothing but the slow rhythm of your own breath. Notice the dim glow of distant creatures drifting at the edge of vision. Let yourself dissolve into this stillness. You might not hear every word, and that's perfectly okay. The Twilight Zone holds some of the strangest and most beautiful creatures in the world. Lanternfish drift through shadows in shimmering schools, each one carrying delicate lines of glowing light along its sides. Some glow faintly in steady patterns, others flash softly, communicating with one another in silent signals. During the night, lanternfish rise toward the surface in vast numbers, feeding on drifting plankton. By dawn, they return to these dim depths, carrying nutrients downward in what scientists call the biological pump, a process that gently moves carbon from the surface deep into the ocean. It is one of Earth's quietest, most essential cycles, happening every night without urgency or noise. Long ago, researchers captured lanternfish in their nets and were astonished by their gentle glow. They realized that these tiny fish, barely the length of a hand, were among the most numerous vertebrates on Earth, drifting through shadows in uncountable billions. And so, softly, science learned that the Twilight Zone was not empty at all, but overflowing with life. Have you ever noticed how comforting it feels to realize you're surrounded, even in darkness, by quiet companions? The Twilight Zone offers that comfort. Life all around you, drifting peacefully on slow currents. Imagine drifting with them. Feel the smooth flow of water around your body. Hear the silence that surrounds their shimmering forms. See faint lights blinking gently in slow-moving patterns. Let their calm movements soothe you. No need to stay awake. The ocean is holding this moment for you. Some creatures here have large, reflective eyes that gather the last traces of sunlight. Others have mouths that open impossibly wide, designed to catch whatever drifts close. Some, like the hatchetfish, carry silver bodies so reflective they almost disappear into the faint glow from above, blending into the fragile boundary between light and shadow. Imagine how softly these bodies shimmer, catching the dimmest fragments of light. Imagine the slow flutter of translucent fins. Imagine the quiet pulse of bioluminescent stripes. Everything moves slowly here. Everything takes its time. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to move without weight, without gravity pulling at you? In the Twilight Zone, creatures experience that freedom constantly. They float, drift, glide. They rise when their bodies fill with tiny amounts of oil or gas. They sink when they release them. No rush, No effort, just quiet buoyancy. Imagine yourself floating that way. Feel your body lighten. Hear the faint stretch of silence. Notice how your breath slows even more. Let yourself drift upward, then downward, gently, softly. You don't need to stay aware. In this quiet place, the boundaries between things become soft. Light becomes motion. Motion becomes temperature. Temperature becomes color. Everything blends, breathes, flows. The farther you drift from the bright surface above, the more the world simplifies into shape and glow, warmth and coolness, presence and shadow. A long time ago, an oceanographer described the twilight zone as the ocean's memory, a place where the surface world fades, but doesn't disappear entirely. Sunlight lingers, but only as whispers. Life continues, but in slower rhythms. Sound travels, but softened. It is a space between worlds, bright and dark, warm and cool, awake and dreaming. Perhaps you feel something like that inside yourself, a space between waking and sleep, where thoughts drift without direction and everything feels a bit softer. Imagine yourself entering that inner twilight. Feel your mind cool, like water passing through shade. Hear thoughts stretch into longer, slower patterns. Notice the edges of your awareness blur. Let that sensation deepen. It's okay if you're drifting off. You don't need to hear the rest clearly. Further into the twilight zone, strange creatures like siphonophores drift like living ribbons. Some stretch longer than whales, glowing gently along their bodies in slow waves of light. They move by contracting small bell-like structures, pushing themselves through the water with patient grace. Their bodies are made of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of small individual parts that work together so seamlessly they feel like a single, gentle organism. Imagine watching one of these long, glowing forms drifting past. See the soft pulses of light moving down its length like a slow whisper. Hear nothing but the hush of water slipping past it. Feel the coolness deepen as it moves through shadow. Let the image settle into you like a soft dream. You might not remember this moment, and that's exactly right. Have you ever wondered why so many creatures glow in the twilight zone? Down here, light becomes communication. Soft pulses mean safety. Flickers mean danger. Gentle glows attract mates. Even predators use tiny glowing lures to attract curious prey. Light becomes language, emotion, intention. A quiet way of being seen in a realm where most of the world is shadow. Imagine that glow now. Small sparks drifting like underwater fireflies. Soft halos surrounding slow-moving forms. Shimmering trails dissolving behind pulsing bodies. Let your thoughts glow and fade with them. The deeper you drift, the less sunlight remains. Eventually only hints of faint blue survive. Not enough to guide, only enough to outline shapes. The world becomes a quiet dusk stretching out in all directions, and yet there is comfort here too. A soft reassurance in the consistency of darkness, the steady temperature, the slow movement of water. Nothing rushes, nothing hurries. Everything flows. Long ago, deep-sea submersibles filmed this realm for the first time. The scientists expected to find emptiness. Instead, they discovered abundance, glowing clusters, drifting forms, tiny sparks of movement everywhere. They realized that this zone contains more living biomass than almost any other layer of the ocean. It was like discovering an entire hidden world, softly lit, gently moving, quietly thriving. Have you ever closed your eyes and realized the darkness behind your eyelids feels alive? The twilight zone holds that same kind of life, quiet but full. Imagine yourself drifting deeper into that living darkness. Feel the silence wrap around you. Hear your breath slow into long, steady waves. See faint glimmers moving through the dim water like stars sinking into night. Let yourself sink with them. You don't need to stay conscious. It's okay to fade. It's okay to drift. Below you, deeper still, lies the midnight zone, but that journey can wait. For now, you rest in the soft, dusky world in between. The twilight zone, where everything glows gently, moves slowly, waits patiently. And as you breathe now, deeply and softly, you might picture the last traces of sunlight disappearing from above, leaving behind a calm that stretches across miles of cool, quiet blue. Down here there is no urgency, no noise, no sharp edges, only drifting currents, glowing life, and the soft hum of the deep ocean holding you in its steady ancient rhythm. Imagine that rhythm settling into your body. Feel your breath match it. Hear the water's slow heartbeat in your mind. Notice your thoughts dimming like fading light. Let yourself drift into that final quiet. You don't need to stay awake. You can drift. You can fade. You can rest. Imagine sinking deeper beneath the twilight blue world we left behind, drifting slowly into a place where sunlight fades completely, leaving only the soft darkness of the deep. The water grows cooler here, settling around you like a gentle cloak, and the pressure rises in a way you do not feel. A quiet embrace rather than a force. Shapes dissolve, colours fade, and all that remains is the soft pulse of life moving through a realm older than memory. As the last traces of light vanish above, you might quietly wonder, from which corner of the world are you drifting off tonight? Wherever that place is, you can rest now. Your breath can slow. Your thoughts can soften. You can drift without effort. The midnight zone lies far below the reach of sunlight, a world wrapped in calm darkness. Down here, the ocean becomes a cathedral of quiet, where silence spreads like velvet and the world moves in slow, deliberate motions. You don't need to stay awake for this. It's okay if your awareness drifts in and out. In fact, it's perfect if it does. Have you ever wondered what darkness looks like when it has depth? The darkness here is not empty. It is layered, textured, alive with faint sparks from glowing creatures. Some lights blink like distant stars. Others shimmer like soft lanterns drifting through a gentle night. And some creatures glow in slow, rhythmic pulses, turning the sea around them into a living constellation. Imagine hovering in that darkness now. Feel the cool water settling around you. Hear nothing but the slow whisper of your own breath. Notice faint glimmers drifting in the distance, tiny lights blossoming in the stillness. Let yourself float. You don't need to follow every word. You can drift whenever you like. Down here, life behaves differently. Without sunlight, creatures rely on patience, touch, vibration, and gentle glows to find one another. Many bodies are elongated, delicate, ribbon-like. Many are nearly transparent. Others carry soft, ghostly hues, pale blues, lucent purples, deep reds invisible to most predators. Some fish grow enormous eyes to catch the faintest glow. Others have no eyes at all, relying on water pressure and gentle currents to sense the world around them. As you continue drifting through the cool, velvety dark of the midnight zone, the world above feels impossibly distant, like a memory softening at the edges. Here, the ocean holds you gently, endlessly patient, endlessly quiet. The darkness is not empty. It is soothing, protective, full of drifting life that moves with the slow rhythm of ancient tides. Perhaps you notice how your own breath has begun to match this rhythm. Each inhale a soft rise, each exhale a gentle fall. You don't need to stay awake. It's okay to drift deeper. Have you ever wondered what happens to sunlight once it disappears completely? Down here, sunlight is only a story carried by falling particles and creatures who glow gently in the dark. The world no longer relies on the sun. Life creates its own faint stars. The sea becomes a place where light is born from within, emerging softly from drifting bodies, glowing organs, bioluminescent trails that pulse through the quiet. Imagine floating among these tiny lights. See them unfolding around you like slow stars. Hear nothing but your heartbeat in the stillness. Feel the coolness of the deep wrap around your skin. Let those lights guide your thoughts into softer shapes. Many creatures in the midnight zone glow with blue bioluminescence because blue light travels the farthest through water. But some produce red light instead, a colour that almost no other deep-sea creature can see. It becomes a secret language, a hidden signal that glows softly through the darkness, invisible to predators but clear to those who share the same silent code. Long ago, scientists were startled to find fish with glowing red organs in a world where red light from the sun never reaches. Slowly, with patient study, they realized the deep holds secrets far more intricate than anyone imagined. The ocean creates its own rules in the dark. Have you ever felt that comforting sense of things hidden just for you? Secrets the world whispers only when you're quiet enough to hear? Imagine drifting with one of these red glowing creatures. See the faint halo around its body. Feel the darkness embrace you both. Notice how peaceful its hidden glow makes the water seem. Let that feeling settle inside you. You can rest. You can let go. Further down, in this shadowed realm, the water grows colder still but strangely more constant, like entering a room where nothing has changed for thousands of years. The midnight zone stays near freezing year-round, its temperature steady and soothing, with no sudden shifts. Life here adapts to the slow pace, the perpetual coolness, the gentle dark. Movements become careful, efficient. Nothing is wasted. Nothing rushes. Have you ever stepped into a cool, quiet place after a long day and felt your entire body sigh with relief? The deep ocean carries that same sensation, a calm that settles into your bones. Imagine that coolness washing over you now. Feel your shoulders drop. Hear your breath deepen. Notice the heavy comfort gathering in your limbs. Let yourself lean into it. You don't need to follow the rest. Your mind can drift. Some of the most delicate creatures here are called ctenophores, or comb jellies. Their bodies refract the faintest traces of light into shimmering rainbows. They pulse with slow, rhythmic movements, using rows of tiny hair-like structures that catch the water and propel them gently forward. When these rows move, they scatter prismatic light. Not bioluminescence, but natural refraction. Soft, rainbow-sparked ripples drifting through the dark. Imagine floating beside one. See its body flicker with iridescent colour. Hear the silence thick around you. Feel the slow pulse of its movements. Let yourself breathe in time with it. Further beyond, deep-sea jellyfish drift with long trailing arms that glow faintly at their edges. Some flash when touched, releasing waves of light that ripple outward like soft fireworks. Others remain almost completely still, catching food with tentacles that hang like gently swaying threads. Have you ever wondered how beauty can exist in complete darkness? The deep proves that softness, colour, and light emerge even in places untouched by the sun. Imagine drifting through these glowing threads. Feel them hovering just out of reach. Hear nothing but the quiet hum of water. Notice how calm you feel in their presence. Let yourself drift deeper. You don't need to stay awake. In this world of gentle darkness, creatures have evolved eyes that see faint glimmers, movements, and pressures rather than clear shapes. Some fish have upward-facing eyes to catch the silhouettes of drifting animals. Others have downward-facing lights to erase their shadow. Everything here revolves around softness, soft movements, soft glows, soft intentions. Long ago, deep explorers described feeling as though they were inside a dream, a place where everything moved with surreal calm, as if time itself had slowed. They spoke of drifting forms that appeared suddenly, glowing softly, then fading into darkness like ghosts of light. Have you ever watched something beautiful dissolve into shadow, feeling not sadness but a quiet awe? Imagine that moment now. See a glowing creature fade into distance. Hear your breath quiet and slow. Feel your body sink deeper into calm. Let the fading light pull you into peaceful rest. You don't need to listen. Let the words flow around you. At the lower edge of the midnight zone, the pressure becomes immense, but life continues with quiet resilience. Some creatures grow long, ribbon-like bodies that can withstand compression. Others develop flexible tissues that bend and sway rather than resist. Their fragility becomes strength. Their softness becomes survival. Imagine moving in that same effortless softness. Feel your thoughts become fluid. Hear your worries dissolve. Notice how deeply your mind is settling into quiet. Let yourself become weightless. Marine snow that falls here becomes slower, heavier, carrying nutrients downward to creatures waiting patiently in the dark. Every tiny particle is precious, caught by drifting animals who extend delicate nets of mucus or long appendages that feel almost like threads of silk floating through the water. Have you ever noticed how beautiful small things become when time slows down enough to see them? Imagine watching a single particle drift downward. See it glowing faintly as a nearby creature illuminates it. Hear the deep quiet surrounding its descent. Feel your own mind drifting alongside it. Let that descent carry you towards sleep. There is no rush in the midnight zone. There is no urgency, only slow motion, only softness, only drifting. Imagine now that the darkness deepens around you, turning velvety and warm. Imagine faint glows appearing like distant lanterns. Imagine the water holding you gently, as if the entire ocean has become a cradle. Your breath slows, your thoughts melt, your body softens. You don't need to stay here consciously. The deep can hold you even as you sleep. And as your mind drifts toward the edge of dreaming, imagine the vastness of this quiet place, a realm stretching across the entire planet, untouched by sun yet filled with life, silent yet never empty, cold yet comforting. A world that continues its soft rhythms whether you're awake or half asleep or drifting fully into dreams. Let the deep carry you. Let the darkness soothe you. Let yourself drift. Let yourself rest. Imagine drifting past the last faint glimmers of the midnight zone, sinking slowly into a place where even bioluminescent sparks become rare, and darkness grows complete, warm, and endless. This is the abyssal zone, a realm so deep and so quiet that time feels different here, stretching softly across miles of near-freezing water. Nothing rushes, nothing rises quickly. Everything moves with patient calm, shaped by millions of years of quiet drifting. As you sink into this deep calm, you might gently wonder, what time is it where you are right now? Wherever you are, whatever hour it may be, your breath can slow, your thoughts can soften, you can let sleep approach without effort. The abyss begins around 3,000 meters beneath the surface, where sunlight never reaches and pressure becomes immense. Yet none of this feels harsh. The water settles into a stable coolness just above freezing, and every movement becomes gentle, measured, serene. Even your imagined body feels suspended, weightless in the dark, drifting quietly through an ancient realm older than mountains. Have you ever wondered what silence sounds like when it has depth? Down here, silence becomes something almost physical, a soft presence that fills the space around you, settling into your ears, your chest, your very thoughts. The deep hum of distant vibrations fades, the faint lights of mid-water life vanish. What remains is pure, enveloping calm. Imagine floating in that darkness. Feel the cool water pressing softly around you. Hear the slow rhythm of your breath blending with the deep. Notice how the dark embraces you like a soft blanket. Let yourself drift deeper. You don't need to hear every word. It's okay to drift. The ocean floor in the abyss stretches across vast plains, covered with fine sediment that has drifted down for millions of years. This sediment, made of crushed shells, tiny organisms, volcanic ash, and slow-falling dust from the surface world, forms a soft, powdery landscape. Some areas are smooth, gently undulating. Others ripple with small dunes shaped by deep currents that move so slowly you would never feel them. Long ago, deep-sea explorers sent cameras to these depths for the first time. They expected rough, jagged terrain. Instead, they found quiet plains stretching for miles, softly shaped by ancient drift. It was like discovering a desert turned liquid, a landscape sculpted by patience. Have you ever felt calm simply looking at a smooth, empty field or a quiet, snowy plain? The abyss has that same soothing presence. Imagine resting on that soft sea floor. Feel the cool sediment beneath you. Hear nothing but your own slow exhale. See the faint shifting of distant currents stirring the surface of the sand. Let yourself sink into this stillness. Some creatures of the abyss appear fantastical but move with surprising softness. The tripod fish, for example, balances on long, delicate fins that act like stilts, holding its body above the seafloor as it waits patiently for drifting food. It faces into slow currents, sensing vibrations with oversized fins that act like gentle antennae. It does not chase, it does not rush, it simply waits in the calm. Imagine drifting near one of these quiet guardians. See its pale body balanced gracefully on thin spines. Hear the faint whisper of water passing around it. Feel the ancient calm radiating from its patient stance. Let yourself settle with it. You don't need to stay awake. This is a place for drifting. Have you ever wondered how creatures survive without sunlight? In the abyss, life feeds on what falls from above. A constant, gentle rain of organic particles that drift downward like snow. Occasionally, something larger reaches the deep, the remains of a whale, a fallen tree carried from shore, or clusters of jellyfish sinking after their life cycle ends. When such things reach the abyssal plains, they become islands of nourishment, feeding entire communities for years. Long ago, researchers discovered that whale falls, the bodies of whales that sink after death, create temporary ecosystems in the deep. The carcass becomes a world of its own, first attracting scavengers, then nourishing worms and microbes, then supporting unique species that feed on fat and bone, some of which exist nowhere else on Earth. It is a cycle of quiet renewal. Have you ever noticed how even endings can create gentle beginnings? Imagine drifting above such a deep oasis. Feel the cool stillness around it. Hear the soft shifting of creatures moving in the dark. See faint lights flicker as tiny organisms feed. Let the idea of renewal soothe you. You can rest. You don't need to hear the rest clearly. Far from these oases, the abyss becomes a realm of extraordinary spaciousness. The plains stretch out for miles, broken only by slow-moving sea cucumbers, pale starfish, and delicate brittle stars whose thin arms wave gently with the currents. Some species crawl with slow, elegant movements, leaving faint trails behind them that remain undisturbed for months. Imagine watching one of these gentle creatures. See its slow, rhythmic crawl. Hear nothing but the shifting grains beneath it. Feel the calm that settles in its presence. Let your thoughts move as slowly as its drifting form. You don't need to remain alert. Near the seafloor, water moves in slow rivers called abyssal currents, gentle movements shaped by temperature and Earth's rotation. These currents can take decades, even centuries, to complete their journeys across ocean basins. They carry cold water from the poles, mixing it with deeper waters and guiding nutrients through the ancient deep. Have you ever felt a sense of comfort in the idea that something can move slowly and still shape the world? Imagine drifting in one of these deep currents. Feel the faint pull guiding you forward. Hear nothing but water moving with ancient patience. Notice how calm and steady the motion feels. Let yourself drift inside that slow river. You can drift in and out. You don't need to stay awake. Some abyssal creatures create light, but more often their glow is faint, subtle, almost ghost-like. Soft pulses appear at the edges of your vision, a distant sparkle here, a small ripple of blue there, a glowing dot drifting upward before fading. Light in the abyss is rare and gentle, like the soft flicker of embers in a dark hearth. Long ago, deep-sea cameras filmed a creature called the Dumbo octopus, named for its ear-like fins that flap gently as it swims. Despite reaching great depths, it moves with a grace that seems almost surreal. Its arms curl softly, its body pulses slowly, and its broad fins carry it through the still water like a drifting petal. It became a quiet symbol of deep-sea calm. Imagine drifting beside a Dumbo octopus. See its fins waving like soft wings. Hear the silence around its slow journey. Feel your breath matching its gentle pulses. Let yourself drift with it. You don't need to hear everything I say. Sleep can come gently. Around certain regions of the abyss, volcanic ridges rise from the seafloor, forming mountains taller than any on land when measured from their submerged bases. These seamounts create islands of biodiversity, where currents carry nutrients upward and life gathers despite the extreme depths. Corals bloom along these slopes, cold water corals that grow slowly, building ancient structures that last for thousands of years. Have you ever wondered what patience looks like in the natural world? These corals are built grain by grain, cell by cell, expanding so slowly that decades pass before they grow the length of your finger. Yet they thrive, forming quiet cities in the dark. Imagine floating near one of these underwater mountains. Feel the water shift as currents rise against its slopes. Hear the faint echo of life moving in the dark. See pale corals shimmering softly. Let their patience settle over you like calm snow. If your eyes feel heavy, let them. If your breath slows, allow it. You're safe to rest. The abyss holds mysteries still unknown, creatures we have never seen, currents we have not measured, landscapes untouched by light for millions of years. Yet nothing about this place feels threatening. It feels like deep, ancient stillness, like the earth breathing slowly beneath its oceans. Imagine sinking gently toward the seafloor now. Feel the cool darkness surround you. Hear your breath become the softest whisper. Notice your mind drifting. Let the abyss cradle you in its ancient calm. You can drift. You can fade. You can rest deeply. Far below even the faintest glow of the upper ocean, the abyss becomes a world of endless quiet. The darkness here is soft, surrounding everything like a gentle cocoon. The deep plains stretch outward in every direction, subtle and undisturbed, shaped only by slow currents and the patient settling of sediment. As you drift across this ancient seafloor, you might notice how your mind begins to settle too, your thoughts sinking into deeper calm. You don't need to stay alert. You can drift. The creatures that live here have adapted to the deep in remarkable ways. Some sea cucumbers grow transparent bodies that allow them to blend fully into the darkness. Others inflate balloon-like to drift gently above the seafloor, catching falling particles as they slowly descend. Their movements are soft, unhurried, a language of patience written in the stillness of the deep. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to move without effort, to glide through a world where nothing demands speed? The abyss is shaped by that kind of softness. Imagine drifting over a group of sea cucumbers. See their pale, translucent forms shifting as slow currents brush past them. Hear nothing but distant vibrations dissolving into silence. Feel the steady coolness of the deep wrapping around you. Let yourself sway with their patient rhythm. You don't need to hear everything. It's okay to drift in and out. Some animals here, like deep-sea brittle stars, stretch long, delicate arms across the sediment. These arms sense vibrations, guiding the creatures toward gentle food sources carried by the currents. Others form slow-moving gatherings, spreading across the seafloor like quiet, living mosaics. Their arms weave soft patterns as they drift over ancient sediment. Long ago, deep-sea cameras captured footage of brittle stars moving together in a slow, synchronized wave, each arm lifting and settling in a rhythm that resembled the wind shifting across a field of tall grass. It revealed a kind of underwater choreography, delicate, quiet, and calming to watch. Have you ever felt peace watching something move in a gentle pattern, repeating softly over and over? Imagine floating above that living mosaic. See the rhythmic rise and fall of their arms. Hear nothing but the slow pulse of the deep. Feel your breath matching their movement. Let yourself drift with that pattern. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to focus. Even the simplest creatures survive here with remarkable grace. Certain worms stretch long, feather-like plumes into the water to capture drifting food. Others burrow quietly beneath the sediment, leaving tiny mounds that resemble soft footprints. Small crustaceans hop gently along the seafloor, their movements resembling dust being lifted by a faint breeze. Imagine watching one of these small creatures hop across the sand. See the tiny puff of sediment rising like powdered snow. Hear the faintest murmur of water shifting. Feel the calm of such delicate motion. Let that calm settle inside you. You can drift whenever you're ready. The abyssal zone also holds towering geological formations. Near some places, hydrothermal vents rise from the seafloor, releasing warm, mineral-rich water into the cold dark. These vents create oases of life, where entire communities gather around chimneys of black smoke. Tube worms with bright red plumes sway gently in the warm currents. Shrimp cluster around the warm flow, their bodies glowing faintly as they feed on bacteria. Soft corals extend pale branches into the mineral-rich water. Have you ever wondered what warmth feels like in the middle of a cold, dark world? The vents create that contrast. Warm water rising in slender columns, glowing faintly as it mixes with the cold abyss around it. Imagine drifting near a hydrothermal vent. Feel the temperature shift slightly as warm water brushes past you. Hear the gentle bubbling of minerals escaping into the deep. See clouds of shimmering particles swirling upward. Let that warmth soothe you. You don't need to follow every detail. It's okay if your mind grows heavy. Even away from vents, life in the abyss is more abundant than once believed. Some fish here develop broad, delicate fins that allow them to glide just above the sediment. Their bodies are soft, flexible, designed to withstand pressure without resistance. A few species have skin so thin it appears almost fluid, flowing with the slight movements of water like silk drifting in a breeze. Have you ever noticed how calming it feels to watch something move as though supported by nothing but air? Imagine drifting beside one of these graceful fish. See its fins unfold in long, slow arcs. Hear nothing but the whisper of water sliding along its body. Feel your own thoughts gliding into similar slow arcs. Let yourself sway with it. You don't need to stay awake. The abyssal plains can be surprisingly dynamic despite their calm appearance. Microcurrents shift grains of sediment in patterns that resemble dunes on land. Some areas are sculpted into ripples by slow, persistent movement. Others form valleys created by ancient landslides along continental slopes. And through all of this, life continues to drift, feed, and settle. Imagine drifting above a field of rippled sediment. See the rows of soft dunes stretching into the dark. Hear your breath echo gently in your chest. Feel the stillness deepen as you take in the quiet landscape. Let that stillness wash over you. If your eyes feel heavy, let them close. If sleep arrives, welcome it. Have you ever wondered how old the water around you might be at these depths? Much of the abyssal water has not touched the surface for centuries. It drifts slowly through deep currents, completing its journey over hundreds or thousands of years. The water becomes a kind of ancient memory, carrying the history of the planet in its slow, dark motion. Imagine floating in this ancient water. Feel the weight of ages around you, not heavy, but comforting. Hear nothing but the faint hum of your own existence. See the darkness shift with tiny sparks of life. Let the age of the deep soothe you. You can drift. You can fade. You can rest. Far from hydrothermal vents and drifting life, the abyss seems to stretch endlessly. Yet even in these quiet plains, animals such as sea spiders, ghostly white crabs, and soft-bodied snails live delicate lives. Some creatures move only a few inches a day. Others spend years in the same small region, exploring the sediment with gentle, patient movements. Long ago, scientists discovered clams buried deep in the sediment that were hundreds of years old. They found coral structures thousands of years old. They realized the deep is not a world of emptiness, but of longevity, a place where time stretches and life endures with quiet strength. Have you ever noticed how enduring calm can feel when you let time slow down? Imagine sinking into that extended time. See the long shadows of ancient creatures beneath you. Hear the deep quiet settle into your chest. Feel the weightlessness of floating in a realm where time barely moves. Let yourself join that slowness. You don't need to stay conscious. Everything here is calm enough to hold you. Imagine resting at the bottom of the abyss now. Feel the soft sediment beneath you, like cool powder. Hear the deep ocean silence surrounding you. warm and steady. See faint glimmers at the edges of vision. Notice the way your breath echoes softly in the stillness. You are safe. You are suspended. You are drifting gently through ancient darkness. Let the abyss hold you. Let your thoughts soften. Let your breath deepen. Let yourself sink into rest. Imagine drifting down the last gentle slope of the abyssal plain, where the soft seafloor stretches toward shadowed cliffs that fall away into unimaginable depth. Here, the ocean begins to fold inward, forming long, narrow scars carved by the slow movement of tectonic plates. These are the trenches, the deepest parts of Earth, hidden beneath miles of cool, ancient water. As you approach the edge of one of these immense chasms, the darkness grows almost tactile, like velvet against your skin, and the water stills into something sacred and quiet. And as you settle near this descent, you might softly wonder, where are you watching from tonight? Wherever that place is, let yourself breathe slowly. Let your body soften. Let yourself drift. The Hadal zone begins around 6,000 meters down, though the exact boundary dissolves into depth the way light dissolves into the sea. Down here, the world becomes a cathedral of stillness so deep it feels as though the earth itself is dreaming. Pressure rises to crushing levels, yet nothing about this realm feels harsh. Life here has adapted with solutions shaped by countless centuries. Soft bodies, flexible tissues, patient rhythms. Have you ever wondered what quiet feels like when it has weight? Down here, quiet becomes something nearly physical, wrapping around you with a gentle heaviness that calms every part of you. Imagine drifting along the edge of a trench. Feel the cool water relax your muscles. Hear the soft pulse of your breath. Notice the faint particles drifting downward like ancient dust. Let yourself hover there. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to remember every word. Along the trench walls, sediment slides in slow motion, forming ripples that remain undisturbed for decades. Water here moves like a whisper, not a current, not a wave, but a slow shift of density that nudges particles along the cliffside. The walls are often steep, rising as underwater mountains that frame a valley miles deep. These slopes hold strange creatures, amphipods the size of your hand, ghostly snailfish with translucent skin, and tiny organisms that drift on chemical traces rather than light. Long ago, explorers sent a small lander into one of these deep trenches. When they reviewed the footage, they found delicate snailfish swimming calmly at depths once believed impossible for life. These fish had soft bodies, no rigid bones, and skin so pale it glowed faintly in the camera's spotlight. They didn't flee, didn't rush, they simply drifted in circles, curious, patient, serene. Have you ever noticed how gentle curiosity feels? That soft pull towards something you don't fully understand. Imagine floating beside a snailfish now. See its soft body turning slowly in the dark. Hear the faint hum of deep water around it. Feel the pressure as a comfortable weight, holding you in place. Let yourself drift deeper. You don't need to stay focused. Beyond the trench walls, the deep valley opens into a vast darkness that stretches miles below the surface. The deepest of these places, the Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, descend farther than Mount Everest rises. And yet, despite these distances, life persists with quiet determination. Have you ever wondered what shapes life takes in the deep where sunlight has never existed? Down here, bodies become translucent. Eyes shrink or vanish. Bioluminescence grows subtle, rare, used only when needed. Instead of light, Creatures sense chemicals, vibrations, and the pressure of minute water movements. Imagine sensing the world that way. Feel the soft pressure shifts around you. Hear the faint echoes of distant movement. Notice how silence becomes direction. Let your mind follow these sensations. You don't need to stay awake. At the very bottom of the trenches, the seafloor is covered in fine ancient sediment, particles that may have taken centuries to settle here. Some grains come from distant rivers, others from volcanic ash, others still from the gentle snow of drifting organic fragments. When you imagine touching this sediment, picture it as the softest powder imaginable, resting untouched in stillness older than human memory. Long ago, scientists were surprised to find life thriving here. Small amphipods with flexible exoskeletons, capable of withstanding pressures more intense than anything found on the surface. They discovered microorganisms that feed on chemicals diffusing from the rocks below, and strange microbes that survive by recycling the slow, drifting carbon of marine snow. Have you ever felt comfort in the idea that life continues quietly, even in places where it seems impossible? Imagine drifting near the seafloor of one of these trenches. See the faint traces of movement left by deep creatures. Hear the silence settle around you like warm night air. Feel the weightlessness of resting so far from the surface world. Let that distance soothe you. You can drift, you can wander, you can fade in and out. Some trenches host gentle landslides of sediment that move slowly along the steep slopes. These slides create waves of fine particles that drift outward like underwater fog, settling again after days or weeks. Creatures adapted to darkness swim through this haze with slow, deliberate motions, using long antennae or soft fins to navigate. Imagine watching this gentle fog of sediment. See it swirl like dust caught in moonlight. Hear the deep hush of the water surrounding it. Feel your breath align with its drifting patterns. Let yourself drift through it. You don't need to stay alert. In the deepest parts of the Hadal zone, strange gelatinous creatures drift like ribbons, some so fragile they collapse under the slightest disturbance from submersibles. Their bodies are shaped by darkness, built not to resist pressure but to yield to it, moving like soft shadows in the deepest quiet on Earth. Have you ever noticed how softness can sometimes be the strongest form of endurance? Imagine hovering near one of these delicate creatures. See its body pulse slowly. Hear nothing but the beat of your own heart. Feel the darkness wrap around you like warmth. Let yourself sink deeper into calm. You don't need to remain conscious. Even here, life continues in patient cycles. Microorganisms break down organic matter that settles from miles above. Shrimp-like amphipods feed on drifting fragments. Snailfish glide through narrow ravines. Some creatures use chemical cues to find food. Others wait motionless for days, letting the deep bring nourishment to them. Imagine being part of this patient world. Feel the rhythm of waiting. Hear the soft stillness of the deep. Notice the way time stretches. Let yourself drift into that long, slow rhythm. If your eyes feel heavy, let them close. If your thoughts fade, let them. The trenches are the final, deepest cradle of the ocean, a place where the earth holds its oldest waters, its softest quiet, and its slowest rhythms. Here, in the deepest darkness, everything moves with a gentle patience shaped over eons. Imagine resting at the very bottom of the ocean now. Feel the soft sediment beneath you. Hear your breath settle into the darkness. See faint sparks from drifting life miles above. Let the deep cradle you. You can drift. You can fade. You can rest. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet shoreline where the water glides in slow, patient breaths, and the last colours of daylight linger over the gentle surface. The air is mild here, carried by the soft scent of salt and distant rain, and as you breathe in, the world seems to loosen around you. The rhythm of the ocean settles your thoughts, inviting you to rest a little more deeply with each exhale. And before we drift into this long, soothing journey together, you might quietly wonder, where are you watching from tonight? Wherever you are, you're safe to relax now. Let your body soften. Let your breath slow. Let the soft sound of imagined water hold you gently, like a warm lullaby unfolding across calm tides. You don't need to stay fully awake for what follows. It's okay if your thoughts begin to dissolve into something hazy, something soft, something peaceful. You might not remember every detail, and that's perfectly fine. The ocean will keep drifting whether your eyes are open or already half closed. You can let go whenever you wish. Just float with these quiet truths. The surface of the ocean is often called the sunlit layer, a shimmering world where light dances with water in endless patterns. Imagine standing there now, with a calm breeze brushing across your skin and the horizon stretching out in a long, gentle arc. Feel the warmth rising from the sun-touched waves. Hear the hush of distant swells rolling over one another like slow breathing. Notice how every ripple seems connected to something deeper, something ancient. Let yourself drift with that warmth. Have you ever wondered why the sea glows during certain nights? Sometimes, in the silence just after dusk, bioluminescent plankton gather near the surface, and every movement of water becomes a faint blue whisper of light. Long ago, sailors believed this glow was a message from spirits of the deep, guiding them across black, moonless waters. They didn't know that millions of tiny organisms were releasing gentle pulses of light whenever the water swayed. They simply watched in quiet awe as the ocean shimmered beneath their ships. And so, softly, they learned that the sea has its own way of speaking even without sound. Imagine floating on your back in a calm lagoon. Feel the weight of warmth beneath you, the ocean holding you with effortless support. Hear the soft lapping of water against your ears, the rhythmic hush turning the world into something far away and slow. Notice how your body rises and falls with each tiny swell, as though the ocean itself is breathing with you. Let yourself float in that stillness. You don't need to listen carefully. You can simply let the words drift past like clouds. The surface of the ocean covers nearly 3/4 of Earth's surface, stretching farther than your eyes could ever see. From space, astronauts say that the planet appears wrapped in blue silk, textured with swirling patterns of light and shadow. The uppermost layer of water, warmed by the sun, becomes a habitat for countless forms of drifting life. Tiny plankton, delicate jellyfish, wandering sea turtles, and schools of shimmering fish move slowly beneath the gentle glow. This thin layer supports more life than any other part of the sea, even though it is only a small fraction of its total depth. And as you breathe softly now, you might notice how soothing it feels to imagine this endless expanse. The sea surface is a mirror for the sky, reflecting colours in ways that shift minute by minute. At dawn, the hues can soften into pale pink and lavender. At midday, the surface glitters like scattered diamonds. At sunset, the water glows with deep gold and quiet fire. And at night, under moonlight, the ocean becomes silver and still, a soft, shimmering sheet that seems to stretch into forever. Have you ever felt the calming pull of a slow tide? Tides on the surface are guided by the moon's distant gravitation, rising and falling in a patient rhythm older than any living creature. Every coastline experiences this gentle motion differently. Some shift only a few inches, while others sway by many feet. Imagine walking along a quiet beach at low tide, the sand cool beneath your feet, small pools left behind like mirrors scattered across the shore. Hear the faint trickle of water returning to the sea. Sense how the world seems to breathe in and out with every tide. Perhaps you notice how the ocean surface is never truly still. Even on the calmest days, there is always some subtle movement. Small ripples stirred by wind, distant swells rolling from storms thousands of miles away, gentle currents sliding beneath the surface like invisible rivers. These currents carry warmth and life across the globe. Without them, the climates we know would shift into something unfamiliar. Long ago, early explorers learned to follow these currents, letting them guide their journeys across vast distances. They trusted the quiet push of water, especially during long nights when stars drifted behind thin clouds. Quietly, patiently, the currents shaped everything, from ancient trade routes to the migrations of whales and sea turtles. Picture yourself standing by the water during sunrise. Feel the cool sand under your feet, slightly damp from the receding tide. Hear gulls calling faintly overhead, their voices softened by distance. Smell the fresh scent of ocean air, touched with salt, and the faint aroma of seaweed warmed by the first light. Notice how the sun glints along the moving surface, turning every small ripple into a line of gold. Let yourself settle into that moment. There is no need to stay alert. You can drift gently with each breath. The surface of the ocean is where most weather begins. Warm water evaporates, rising into the air to form soft clouds that drift overhead. Sometimes the air becomes heavy with moisture, creating quiet rainfall that patters across the sea like thousands of tiny footsteps. Other times, the sky clears completely, leaving only a vast blue expanse above. Have you ever wondered how many droplets of water rise from the sea every second? It's a number far too large to count, yet each droplet is part of a cycle that has gone on for billions of years. Long ago, scientists studying this surface layer noticed something curious. Even though sunlight warms the topmost waters, the warmth only reaches a limited depth. Beneath it lies cooler water that moves differently, creating a delicate layering effect known as stratification. For centuries, sailors knew the surface could feel warm while deeper layers remained cold, but they didn't know why. Slowly, patiently, researchers traced the flow of heat and light, discovering how this layering shapes ecosystems and weather across the globe. And so, quietly, the ocean revealed one of its many hidden patterns. As you rest now, imagine drifting in a small boat on a calm day. Feel the gentle rocking beneath you. Hear the small creaks of wood, the faint slap of water against the hull. Notice how the horizon seems endless, almost blending with the sky. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to focus. The rocking itself is enough to lull your mind into something soft and slow. Let yourself drift wherever your thoughts carry you. The surface of the ocean is home to floating forests of seaweed, especially in places like the Sargasso Sea, where golden mats of sargassum drift freely. These floating habitats shelter young turtles, fish, crabs, and drifting birds seeking rest. When sunlight filters through the water beneath these mats, it creates patterns that shimmer like moving lace. Even the waves move differently there, cushioned slightly by the floating plants. Do you notice how soothing it is to imagine these gentle details? The ocean's surface is full of tiny stories like this, quiet interactions that take place beneath the sunlit waves. Plankton drift with currents, producing much of the oxygen you breathe. Dolphins rise to take soft breaths, releasing faint puffs of mist into the air. Flying fish skim the surface in shimmering arcs, their bodies briefly catching the light before slipping back into the water with barely a splash. If your mind wanders now, let it. You don't need to hold on to every image. This is a place where thoughts can soften, where edges blur, where the world becomes quiet. Imagine again the movement of waves, how they travel across entire oceans without carrying the water forward, only passing energy from one swell to the next. A wave can begin with a gentle breeze thousands of miles away and reach a distant shore days or weeks later. And when it does, it breaks softly into foam, dissolving into air with a faint whisper. Have you ever wondered how many waves have touched every coastline over Earth's history? The number is endless, and each one tells a quiet story of wind, distance, and time. Picture the gentle sound of oars dipping softly into water. Hear the tiny droplets falling back with delicate splashes. Feel the slight motion of a boat gliding forward without hurry. Notice the warmth of sunlight on your face, the cool scent of ocean mist brushing your skin, the faraway calls of seabirds drifting on the breeze. Let yourself sink into that stillness. There's no need to resist the heaviness in your eyelids. You might already be drifting, and that's perfectly okay. The ocean surface reflects the colours of the world. On cloudy days, it becomes a wide sheet of muted silver, textured with soft ripples. During storms far out at sea, the water turns deep grey, with long swells rolling beneath winds that whisper and sigh. But in tropical places, where sunlight is pure and bright, the surface becomes turquoise or deep blue, shifting shades as clouds pass overhead. Every colour is a conversation between sky and sea, changing with the slightest breath of wind. Long ago, ancient navigators learned to read these surface textures. They studied the shine of moonlight on water to determine wind direction. They watched ripples to predict upcoming swells. They followed the paths of seabirds to find land hidden beyond the horizon. Without instruments, they trusted the ocean to guide them, listening to its quiet messages in the way only patient travellers can. Have you ever wondered where the boundary between sea and sky truly is? On warm days, heat rises from the water, creating a shimmering mirage that blurs the horizon. Sometimes ships appear to float in the air. Sometimes distant islands seem to hover above the sea. These illusions are caused by layers of warm and cool air bending light gently, like a lens made of sky. They are part of the magic of the ocean surface, a place where reality softens just enough to let imagination drift through. As you rest now, imagine a soft rain falling on the water. Hear the delicate tapping of droplets. Feel the cool mist on your skin. Notice how the surface darkens slightly where the raindrops land, each tiny impact forming a small circle that spreads outward, touching others, merging softly. Let the steady rhythm calm your breath. Let your body sink deeper into comfort. You don't need to stay awake to enjoy this. The rain will fall gently whether your eyes remain open or drift closed. The surface of the ocean is alive with sound, subtle, muted, and endlessly calming. Waves murmur as they collapse into foam. Breezes glide across the top, creating faint rustles that resemble whispers. Far below, whales send deep songs upward, and though you cannot hear them from here, their vibrations travel through water for miles. The ocean is full of communication, much of it quiet, much of it soft. Perhaps you've felt this before. the strange comfort of knowing there is sound around you even when you cannot hear it clearly. Imagine floating on a wide, open sea during twilight. The sun has just slipped below the horizon, leaving soft hues of blue and purple spreading across the sky. Stars begin to appear, one by one, reflected gently on the surface. The water is calm, moving in slow, steady pulses beneath you. You feel weightless, supported, unhurried. The world is quiet, patient, still. Let yourself dissolve into that feeling. Let the ocean hold you. The surface waters play a vital role in shaping the climate. Though vital doesn't need to feel urgent here, it simply means the ocean participates gently in the planet's balance. Warm water absorbs sunlight like a soft blanket, releasing heat slowly through the night. This steady exchange helps temper temperature swings, making coastal regions mild and serene. Even as you rest now, this quiet process continues around the globe, guiding winds, shaping rainfall, and supporting life. Long ago, a researcher sat on a ship deck during a late afternoon and watched the ocean carefully. He noticed small circular patches where the water looked slightly different, as if polished or smoother than the surrounding area. Over years of patient observation, he discovered that tiny organisms living near the surface produce natural oils that can calm the water's texture, softening ripples when the wind is gentle. And so, softly, science learned another detail about how life shapes even the smallest movements of the sea. Do you notice how your body feels heavier now? How your breath has slowed? There's no need to resist that sensation. It's okay to surrender to it. You don't need to hear every word. The ocean will keep drifting without you. Imagine dipping your hand into warm seawater. Feel the silk-smooth texture of the surface, the gentle resistance as your fingers glide beneath. Notice how the water clings lightly to your skin when you lift your hand back out, leaving a faint coolness as droplets trickle down. Hear the tiny splashes. See the glimmer of sunlight dancing along the shifting surface. Let yourself sink deeper into that sensation. The surface of the ocean moves with currents like the Gulf Stream, which carries warm water from the tropics toward colder northern coasts. These currents moderate temperatures, influence weather, and even guide migrations of countless species. Sea turtles often follow warm currents for thousands of miles, traveling softly with the flow of water. They rise occasionally to take gentle breaths, their shells shimmering with reflected light. Each movement is slow, deliberate, unhurried. If your mind drifts, let it. You might be already drifting, and that is exactly what should happen. During calm nights, when the moon is high and the sky is clear, the ocean surface becomes a wide silver road stretching to the horizon. Ancient travelers believed this glowing path was a sign from the gods, a gentle guide across dark waters. Today we know it's the moonlight reflecting off the ripples, but the feeling remains the same, a quiet invitation to follow the shimmering light. Waves at the surface can originate from storms far beyond the horizon. Even if the weather is calm where you are, the ocean may carry the imprint of distant winds and lightning. These swells arrive as long, rolling motions, patient and rhythmic. They carry the memory of storms softened by time and distance. Perhaps you notice how comforting it feels to imagine energy traveling across the globe, only to dissolve gracefully at your feet. Imagine yourself floating near a coral reef. Feel the warm water surrounding you. Hear the gentle clicks and pops beneath the surface, soft sounds created by tiny creatures living among the corals. Notice the way sunlight filters through the water, creating moving patterns on the sand below. Let yourself drift with the small waves, your breath sinking with the quiet motion of the sea. The ocean surface is where water meets air, a boundary delicate and ever-changing. Molecules at this boundary form a thin, flexible skin called surface tension. It's the reason small insects can walk across calm water without sinking. It's the reason droplets bead on your skin. It's the reason bubbles form and drift lightly upward during storms. Though this layer is thin, it shapes countless interactions between sea and sky. Have you ever noticed how ripples travel outward when a single drop falls into still water? The ocean magnifies this effect endlessly. One small disturbance, wind, a fish surfacing, a drifting leaf, creates waves that spread softly across the surface. These waves merge, blend, and dissolve with others, creating a complex pattern that never repeats. Every moment of the ocean surface is unique, just like every breath you take. And as you breathe gently, you might picture the quiet creatures that live between the waves. Jellyfish drift near the top, their translucent bodies pulsing softly. Tiny fish gather in shimmering schools that move like silver clouds, turning in unison with slow grace. Albatross glide above, barely moving their wings as they catch subtle winds that rise from the breaking waves. Let yourself sway with these images. Let your thoughts soften. Let the heaviness settle through your body like warm sand. The surface of the ocean is deeply connected to the sky through evaporation, reflection, and wind. Moisture rises from warm waves, creating clouds that drift across continents. Light reflects off the water in patterns that guide migrating animals, from birds to whales, and wind shapes the texture of waves, creating everything from tiny ripples to long rolling swells. Each part of this relationship is gentle, ancient, and ongoing. Imagine standing on the deck of a quiet ship at night. The sky above you is deep and star-filled. The ocean below is calm, reflecting faint glimmers of starlight. Hear the subtle creaking of wood. Feel the cool air on your face. Notice the scent of salt carried on the breeze. Let your thoughts drift like the slow movement of the ship through still waters. You don't need to stay awake. The night is peaceful and the ocean is patient. Sometimes, during certain seasons, the ocean surface becomes a gathering place for millions of drifting organisms. Plankton bloom in soft clouds of colour, greens, blues, sometimes reddish hues that swirl with currents. These blooms provide nourishment for countless species, supporting the entire marine food web. When sunlight shines through them, the water glows as if lit from within. Long ago, early naturalists studying plankton were astonished by their delicate beauty under microscopes. They wrote about tiny glass-like shells, spirals, stars, and geometric shapes more intricate than any human artwork. They realized the ocean's surface was filled with life too small to see, yet vital to the entire planet. And so, quietly, a new understanding of the sea began. Have you ever wondered how far a drifting leaf might travel on the surface of the ocean? A leaf dropped from a riverbank could float through estuaries, slip into coastal waters, and eventually drift across thousands of miles if currents guide it gently enough. Each step of its journey is shaped by tide, wind, and the subtle push of water from deep below. The surface waters also carry small pieces of floating pumice from underwater volcanoes. These stones, light enough to drift, sometimes gather into vast rafts, carrying tiny organisms across long distances. Seabirds may rest upon them, seeds may cling to their surfaces, and over time, these drifting stones help connect ecosystems separated by thousands of miles. As you rest now, imagine holding a smooth seashell in your hand. Feel its cool, curved surface. Notice the faint ridges beneath your fingers. Hear the soft sound of waves in the distance. Smell the gentle scent of salt carried on the breeze. Let yourself settle deeper into calm. You don't need to stay awake. You might already be drifting, and that's okay. Near coastlines, the surface of the ocean becomes a world of dancing reflections. Sunlight scatters along breaking waves, forming tiny rainbows in the mist. The foam left behind by each wave sparkles with delicate bubbles. Sand mixes with water in swirling patterns, creating shapes that shift with each movement of the tide. These small details are soothing, quiet reminders of how alive the sea truly is. Further from shore, the surface can grow glassy and smooth, especially at dawn when winds are calm. In those moments, the ocean becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting clouds and distant mountains. Sailors call this state the calm, a rare and delicate condition when the world feels suspended in stillness. Imagine yourself there, floating gently, hearing only the soft sound of your own breath, mixing with the quiet sigh of water against wood. The ocean surface is home to wandering sea turtles who rise slowly to breathe, their ancient shells glistening with droplets. Each breath creates a small ring of ripples that expand outward, touching the surface in expanding circles. For a brief moment, the turtle rests beneath the sun, absorbing its warmth, before slipping back beneath the waves where cooler waters await. Have you ever wondered why seawater tastes salty? Long ago, rivers carried minerals from mountains into the sea, where they dissolved slowly over millions of years. Evaporation removed pure water, leaving salts behind. This quiet process has continued for ages, shaping the chemistry of the ocean and giving it that familiar taste. As you relax more deeply, imagine tracing your fingers along the edge of the water as waves slide in. Feel the cool touch of foam as it reaches your ankles. Hear the soft hiss as the wave pulls away, taking a thin layer of sand with it. Notice how the water glistens under the sun, tiny droplets sparkling like scattered stars. Let yourself drift with that sensation. You don't need to do anything, just breathe. At the surface, the ocean interacts constantly with the atmosphere, exchanging gases quietly and continuously. Oxygen dissolves into water. Carbon dioxide slips out or sinks deeper depending on temperature and currents. This gentle exchange helps shape the planet's climate over long stretches of time. You don't need to understand it fully. Just imagine the soft, delicate handshake between air and sea, happening moment by moment, without urgency, without noise. Long ago, a group of explorers travelled across calm seas at night, guided only by the stars and the faint glow of bioluminescent plankton stirred by the ship's passage. They watched in wonder as the water behind them lit up in swirling shades of blue with every movement. This glowing trail followed them like a quiet companion, illuminating the dark with soft, otherworldly light. In those moments, the ocean felt alive in a way they had never imagined. Perhaps you felt this yourself, the sense that the sea holds memories older than anything else on Earth. The waves move with patterns shaped over billions of years. The surface reflects the sky that has watched over countless generations. The air carries a scent that has drifted across every coastline. Everything feels timeless. As you rest, imagine sitting on a warm rock by the shore, the last light of day fading behind you. Feel the gentle heat beneath your hands. Hear the quiet splash of water rising and falling. Notice how the colours of the sky shift slowly from gold to lavender to deep blue. Let that transition calm you. There's no need to stay awake. Let the world fade softly. The ocean surface is a place of constant transformation. Foam forms where waves break. dissolving into the air within seconds. Sandbars shift with each tide. Driftwood floats in patterns shaped by wind and current. Even the reflections of the sky change continuously, never repeating exactly. This constant movement is gentle, meditative, a reminder that everything changes and everything returns. Imagine watching a lone seabird glide over the water. Its wings barely move as it rides the rising currents of warm air. Below it, fish gather near the surface to feed on drifting plankton. Their movements create small ripples that spread outward in delicate rings. The bird dips low, touches the water lightly with its beak and rises again, leaving behind a trail of tiny droplets sparkling in the light. As you breathe softly now, let yourself picture the soft, rhythmic pulse of waves beneath moonlight. The ocean surface becomes a long silver path stretching toward the horizon. Each movement is slow and fluid. Each sound is soft and comforting. If your mind drifts away, let it. You don't need to hold on to anything. Some of the calmest places on Earth are sheltered bays, where the ocean surface lies protected from wind and waves. In these quiet waters, reflections become perfectly clear. Mountains, trees, and clouds appear doubled, mirrored in still blue. Imagine standing at the edge of one of these bays, watching your own reflection ripple gently as you breathe. Notice how peaceful it feels to see the world softened by water. The surface of the sea connects every coastline. A piece of driftwood from one continent might end up thousands of miles away. Seeds carried by waves might wash onto distant shores. Even messages in bottles released softly into the water by hopeful hands can travel farther than expected, riding currents with patient determination. Long ago, a scientist studying ocean currents released wooden markers into the sea to track where they drifted. Months later, some washed ashore in places he never expected. Over decades, these patient experiments helped map the invisible highways of the oceans, and so, quietly, the world learned how deeply connected its waters truly are. As you sink deeper into rest, imagine leaning over the side of a gentle boat and watching small fish dart just beneath the surface. Their bodies shimmer like quick flashes of silver as they shift directions. Sunlight scatters across their scales, creating tiny stars that swirl and fade. Hear the soft slap of water against the hull. Feel the warm breeze brushing your arms. Let yourself settle. Have you ever wondered how many shades of blue the ocean can hold? Some regions appear deep navy, others pale turquoise, some almost green where sunlight filters through shallow water rich with life. Each colour is a conversation between water, light, and depth, an ever-changing palette shaped by the angle of the sun and the clarity of the sea. And as you breathe calmly, you might notice how easy it feels to drift along with these thoughts, not needing to stay aware of every detail. You don't need to remember them. You don't need to stay awake. Let the soothing rhythm of the words carry you. Warm ocean surfaces create gentle breezes that drift inland, carrying the smell of salt and the faint sound of waves. These breezes have comforted countless people throughout history, bringing relief on hot afternoons and whispering softly through open windows at night. Imagine that breeze touching your skin now, cool, light, carrying hints of distant rain. Let it calm you. The ocean surface is a sanctuary for countless birds who rest on drifting logs or small islands of seaweed. Albatross may travel more than 10,000 miles, gliding over waves for days without landing. When they finally rest, they choose quiet patches of water where the air is still and the surface moves with long, soothing swells. Imagine watching one settle gently onto the water, folding its wings and drifting peacefully. If you feel sleep pulling at you, let it. You don't need to resist. The ocean will continue its calm rhythm without your attention. As the day ends, the surface of the water transforms once more. Colours deepen, winds soften, waves slow. The world becomes quieter, and somewhere far out at sea, beneath a sky shimmering with stars, the surface glows faintly with the blue light of drifting plankton. Each movement creates a soft burst of radiance, dissolving slowly back into darkness. Imagine yourself floating there, watching the blue sparks of life drift through the water. Feel the gentle rocking beneath you. Hear the soft hush of distant waves. Notice how peaceful you feel. Let yourself drift. And now, as your thoughts soften and your breath deepens, picture the horizon fading gently into night. Let the surface of the ocean cradle your imagination like a warm, slow tide. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to listen closely. Just let yourself drift, gently, peacefully, into rest. Imagine drifting far from any shore, where the world opens into a wide, endless blue, and the air feels softer somehow. Touched by warmth during the day and cool whispers at night. Out here, far from land, the sea stretches in every direction, calm and patient, moving with a rhythm so steady it feels almost like a heartbeat. As you settle into this space, you might quietly ask yourself, what time is it where you are right now? Wherever you are, you can let the open ocean hold you gently. Your breath can slow, your body can soften. You don't need to stay awake. You can drift. Somewhere on this quiet expanse, sunlight touches the surface in slow golden waves. The open ocean surface glimmers like a field of shifting glass, rippling with patterns that change effortlessly with every passing breeze. And in the stillness of those moments, you might wonder how such a vast place can feel so peaceful, so soothing, so deeply serene. Have you ever noticed how silence feels different over deep water? Out here, away from noise and land, the quiet has a depth to it, a kind of patient softness that seems to stretch forever. If you were floating on a gentle swell right now, you would feel the ocean lift you slowly, hold you for a moment, then lower you again, as if cradling you in a calm, rhythmic embrace. Imagine yourself lying on your back in the middle of this vast water. Feel the gentle rise beneath you. Hear the faint whisper of distant swells. Notice the warm sun on your skin. Let yourself float without effort. The open ocean is called the pelagic zone, a realm that covers most of Earth's surface. Yet even though it is so enormous, this place is surprisingly quiet. The water here is clear and clean, stirred by long currents that move across entire hemispheres. Drifting plankton shimmer near the surface, forming soft clouds of life that feed creatures from tiny fish to enormous whales. Long ago, early sailors crossing the open ocean for weeks at a time often described moments when the sea looked like stretched silk, smooth, flawless, glowing beneath moonlight. They wrote that the water felt alive, as if breathing quietly beneath them. And in a way, it was. The open ocean has its own pulse, guided by winds, temperature, and the turning of the planet itself. With patience, it reveals gentle truths. Have you ever wondered why the open ocean appears so deeply blue? Sunlight contains many colours, but water absorbs reds and yellows first, letting blue light scatter and return to your eyes. The deeper the water, the deeper the blue. It is a colour shaped not by paint or pigment, but by the quiet physics of light passing through a world of vast and ancient water. Imagine that now. Picture yourself leaning over the side of a softly drifting boat. See the endless blue beneath you. Hear the gentle tapping of water on wood. Feel cool mist touch your face. Let the color calm you. You don't need to remember every detail. It's okay if your mind wanders. The ocean will continue drifting whether you follow each word or let them dissolve softly into the background. Far beneath the surface, currents move like invisible rivers. Some of these currents travel for thousands of miles, carrying warm water into cold seas and cold water into warm ones. These slow, patient movements shape the climate, guide migrations, and support life. Open ocean animals often follow these deep roots instinctively, feeling subtle changes in temperature and tide. Perhaps you've felt something like this, the gentle pull of a direction you can't quite explain, guiding you quietly, softly. The ocean works the same way, letting life drift along invisible pathways shaped over ages. In the open ocean, waves travel unbroken for enormous distances. Swells that begin near Antarctica can reach shores in distant continents, carrying stories of icy storms softened by their long journey. By the time they reach warm waters, these waves have become slow, rolling motions, gentle enough to lull you into deep calm if you imagine them beneath you now. Have you ever wondered where the wind begins? Over the open ocean, warm air rises from sunlit water, creating subtle breezes that wander across great distances. These breezes carry faint scents of salt, distant rain, and sometimes hints of warm coastlines hundreds of miles away. If you breathe in gently, you might imagine that cool, soft air brushing across your skin. Let yourself drift with that sensation. You don't need to stay fully awake. Perhaps you're already halfway to sleep. That's perfect. The open ocean is a refuge for wandering creatures. Sea turtles travel thousands of miles across these waters, returning to the same shores generation after generation. Albatross glide effortlessly for days, barely flapping their wings, using gentle currents of air rising from the waves. Some fish migrate across entire oceans, guided by sunlight, water temperature, or ancient instinct. Imagine following one of these creatures now. Feel the slow glide of water around a turtle's shell. Hear the faint splash as it surfaces for a gentle breath. Notice the shimmer of sunlight on scales drifting just beneath the water. Let yourself follow their slow journey. You don't need to stay focused. It's okay to drift. Long ago, sailors noticed that floating seaweed in the open ocean often marked places where currents converged. These floating habitats became resting spots for birds, nurseries for small fish, and homes for tiny drifting creatures. Over time, these seaweed mats drift thousands of miles, shaping small ecosystems in the middle of an otherwise empty sea. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be surrounded by nothing but horizon? No buildings, no land, no noise but the shifting water. Out in the open ocean, the boundary between sea and sky becomes soft, blurred by distance and light. The world becomes simple, slow, quiet. Imagine being there now. Feel the boat sway softly beneath you. Hear the gentle hiss of small ripples passing along the hull. Notice the warmth of sunlight returning with each slow breath. Let yourself rest in that stillness. The open ocean is full of drifting life. Tiny plankton float where the light reaches, creating a foundation for entire ecosystems. Some plankton glow when disturbed, producing gentle bursts of bioluminescence that shimmer beneath the waves like distant stars. At night, these lights form swirling patterns as waves lift and settle the water. A long time ago, early explorers sailing at night would look down from their ships and see glowing trails behind them. They believed the sea was filled with spirits guiding their path. They didn't know that tiny organisms, smaller than grains of sand, were lighting up whenever the water shifted. In this way, the ocean shared its secrets slowly, softly, patiently. Perhaps you notice a sense of warmth spreading through your body now, a gentle heaviness around your eyes. There's no need to resist it. You don't need to hear every word. Everything is peaceful, and you can drift whenever you're ready. Imagine listening to the open ocean at dusk. Hear the quiet breeze brushing over waves. Feel the temperature drop just slightly as the sun sinks lower. See the sky shift from pale blue to lavender and soft indigo. Let your thoughts dissolve like foam melting back into water. The open ocean is shaped by sunlight during the day, creating warm layers that float atop cooler depths. This layering forms a gentle gradient, with water becoming colder and darker as it sinks. Fish rise to the surface to warm themselves, then drift downward again when they are ready to feed. Birds skim the surface in search of small fish. Even whales come to breathe, their soft exhales sending mist into the air before they sink slowly into deeper silence. Have you ever wondered how many breaths a whale takes in its lifetime? Slow, measured breaths that rise like soft fountains. Each breath becomes a quiet moment in the vast stillness of the open sea. You might not hear every part of this chapter. You might drift in and out. That's okay. That's exactly what this space is for. The open ocean glimmers under moonlight in a way unlike anywhere else on Earth. The surface becomes a moving silver field, folding and unfolding in gentle patterns. Stars reflect faintly in the water, broken only by the soft rise of a swell or the delicate splash of a wandering fish. Imagine the sky full of stars above you. Feel the cool night air touching your skin. Hear the slow, rhythmic movement of water. Notice how your breath naturally matches the ocean's pace. Let yourself fall into that rhythm. Far from shore, the open ocean becomes a world of wandering light. During sunrise, the horizon glows with soft peach and pale gold, spreading warmth across the surface in a slow, quiet wave. The sea welcomes this light gently, one ripple at a time, until the entire expanse becomes a single sheet of glowing colour. And as you picture this unfolding, perhaps you notice how your breath softens, how your shoulders loosen, how the world around you fades into something simpler. You don't need to listen closely. You can drift. Have you ever wondered why the horizon looks curved out at sea? It's because the earth itself curves gently, and the ocean, like a shimmering mirror, reveals that curve in a way land rarely does. When you're far from shore, the boundary between sea and sky begins to blend, creating a soft edge where colours shift with the time of day. At dawn, that line glows. At noon, it sharpens. At dusk, it dissolves into violet and blue. Imagine sitting on a small, steady vessel in that moment of dusk. Feel the cool air brushing across your cheeks. Hear the faint rustle of wind passing over the water. Notice the soft glow of fading light on the waves. Let yourself become weightless. The open ocean is a place where creatures rise and fall with the rhythm of sunlight. Small fish gather near the surface during daylight, their scales shimmering like tiny silver lanterns. When night arrives, they sink slowly into the deeper layers, where darkness wraps around them like a soft blanket. Meanwhile, other creatures, glowing jellyfish, drifting comb jellies, tiny bioluminescent plankton, float upward toward the surface, turning the sea into a quiet, moving constellation. Long ago, a group of researchers studying these nightly migrations realized something almost poetic. The largest daily movement of life on Earth happens not on land, but in the ocean, where billions of creatures rise and fall with the coming and going of light. It's a slow, ancient dance, invisible from above but essential to the balance of the sea. And so, softly, the scientists learned that the ocean breathes too, not with air, but with movement. Have you ever felt that gentle shift inside yourself when day becomes night? That moment when your mind grows quieter, your thoughts slow, your breath softens. The ocean knows that feeling intimately. It changes with light in the same patient way you do when you settle into rest. Imagine leaning over the edge of your drifting boat. The water below is dark now, but still warm from the day. Tiny sparks of blue appear whenever your fingers touch the surface, glowing and fading like distant stars. Feel the coolness of the water. Hear the soft swish of your hand moving through it. Notice the glow as it blooms and dissolves. Let yourself drift with those lights. You don't need to stay awake. You're safe to drift. The open ocean supports the largest animals on the planet. Blue whales glide through these waters with slow, powerful strokes. Each movement sends a gentle ripple through the sea. Yet despite their size, their presence is peaceful, unhurried, almost meditative. When they rise to breathe, their exhalations emerge like soft pillars of mist, illuminated by sunlight or moonlight before fading into the air. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to hear a whale's call from far away? The sound travels through water more easily than through air, drifting across hundreds of miles. To nearby creatures, these low, deep notes feel less like sound and more like warmth, a vibration that moves through the body in soft, resonant waves. If your thoughts feel far away right now, that's perfect. The ocean encourages wandering. The open sea is also home to gentle giants like whale sharks, who swim peacefully with mouths open to catch drifting plankton. Sunfish bask near the surface, lying on their sides like oversized leaves floating in warm, sunlit water. Sea turtles rise from the depths to breathe, their movements slow and deliberate. Even sharks in the open ocean glide with a surprising grace, traveling long distances with calm, fluid motions. Imagine swimming beside one of these peaceful creatures. Feel the slow, rhythmic movement of water around them. Hear the quiet hush of their bodies gliding through the sea. Notice how they move without hurry, without effort. Let yourself drift in that same calm. The open ocean may appear empty from above, but beneath the surface it holds layers of life as diverse as any forest or desert. Schools of fish move like shifting tapestries, weaving through light and shadow. Tiny creatures cling to drifting seaweed, creating miniature worlds. Birds rest on floating debris during long flights. And deep below, unseen from the surface, creatures with delicate glowing patterns rise into the twilight. Long ago, sailors believed the open ocean hid monsters. They saw shadows beneath the waves and imagined enormous creatures stirring below. But as centuries passed, explorers began to understand the truth. The ocean wasn't filled with monsters, only mysteries. Many of those shadows were pods of dolphins, schools of tuna, or the slow drifting forms of whales gliding along migration routes. And so, patiently, curiosity replaced fear. Have you ever noticed how fear fades when you understand something more deeply? The ocean teaches that lesson again and again. What seems vast and unknowable becomes gentle when seen closely. Imagine standing at the bow of a ship under a star-filled sky. Feel the cool metal beneath your hands. Hear the rhythmic splash of water against the hull. See the Milky Way reflected faintly on the calm surface. Let yourself breathe in that stillness. You don't need to hear every word. Let them wash over you. The open ocean is also shaped by wind, soft breezes that create tiny ripples, stronger winds that generate swells, and rare calm days when the surface becomes so smooth it mirrors the sky perfectly. On those quiet mornings, the world feels doubled. Clouds above, clouds below, all drifting with the same slow grace. Have you ever wondered how clouds form from the sea? Warm water rises as vapor, cooling in the sky and forming tiny droplets that gather into soft shapes. These clouds drift across continents, carrying the memory of the ocean to places far from shore. Rain that falls on forests, deserts, and mountains once rose from the open sea, carried gently by air currents. Imagine that now, water rising, drifting, returning in a slow, ancient cycle. Feel the air cool slightly as clouds gather. Hear distant rain far away across the water. Notice how calm the ocean remains beneath it. Let yourself drift with that cycle. In the open ocean, the colour of the water changes with depth, angle, and time of day. Midday light turns it sapphire. Morning light makes it soft turquoise. Deep evening light can turn it almost purple. These colours shift not in sharp lines but in smooth, dreamy gradients, blending like watercolour across the surface. Somewhere far from land, a researcher once wrote that the ocean holds more shades of blue than the human eye can name. And maybe that's true. The sea invents colours with every passing breeze, every cloud, every tiny change in sunlight. Perhaps you've felt this before, the comfort of watching colour change slowly, softly, without urgency. Imagine yourself floating now in that shifting blue. Feel the warmth of the surface. Hear the quiet movement of waves. See the endless gradient stretching to the horizon. Let your thoughts fade like colour draining into twilight. You don't need to stay awake. You can drift whenever you're ready. The open ocean is connected to every coastline on Earth. A bottle dropped off one shore may wash up on another continent years later. A drifting log can travel thousands of miles, carrying small creatures who cling to its surface. Even a single leaf carried downstream by a river may eventually reach open water, where currents guide it across endless miles of blue. Long ago, oceanographers released small wooden markers into the sea to track currents. Months or years later, some of these markers appeared on distant beaches, teaching researchers how water moves across the globe. Quietly, these discoveries revealed a truth the ocean had always known: everything is connected. Have you ever wondered where a single wave begins and ends? The truth is that waves don't travel as water does. They move energy across the surface, passing it from one ripple to the next. A wave you see today may have begun far beyond the horizon, shaped by winds you never felt, carrying memories of places you'll never see. Imagine that energy passing gently beneath you. Feel the soft rise of a swell. Hear the low hum of the ocean's breath. Notice how your own breathing mirrors it. Let yourself drift in that rhythm. The open ocean holds storms too, but even these storms have a gentle side when seen from a distance. Rain falls in soft curtains that blur the horizon. Thunder rolls like distant murmurs. Lightning flickers behind clouds, turning the sky pale for a moment before fading. And when the storm passes, the world becomes calm again, the surface smoothed by fresh rainfall. Imagine that moment after a storm. Smell the clean air. Feel the cool droplets on your skin. Hear the quiet dripping from the boat's edge. Notice how peaceful everything becomes. You don't need to stay conscious for what comes next. Sleep can take you softly. The open ocean holds secrets deeper than anything on land. But up here on the surface, everything moves with slow patience. Birds glide, waves rise, light dances, life drifts, and you, breathing softly now, can drift with it too. The sea does not ask you to stay awake. It does not ask you to remember. It simply holds space for your mind to soften. Imagine the horizon fading now. Feel your body growing heavy. Hear the ocean's slow whisper. Notice your thoughts dissolving. Let yourself drift. Let yourself fade. Let yourself rest. Good night.